are we? Good morning everybody. Welcome to my creative stream where I'm going to be continuing on with my Naga drawing this morning. So let me just get everything set up. Got the coffee, that's the main thing. And then make sure all those things are set up that I wanted. That's all working, just making sure Twitch is working. And then pop that on there. And I think we'll be ready to go in a bit. Hopefully the music's not going to be too loud. It's just background zone music at the moment. There we go. So that's on and that's on. I'll move that over that side and we can have a look. Right, pencil wise, let's have a think. I'm going to carry on with my nice thin pencil. That's the best one really for most of my work. Let's move that over there so I can see everything. Oh, hello Putty Tat. So we did quite a lot to the arm the other day, and then we mapped out a lot of these scales based off of like crocodile belly was the main thing we used here, going from snake thin scales to bigger crocodile scales and then getting larger and larger down there. Hey Arceus, how are you? Thanks ever so much for stopping by. How are you doing this fine morning? And thank you very much about the comments with the beard. Very kind of you. We're just currently drawing our Naga. It's taken us about 3 streams to do so far. So it does take a pretty... Oh, thank you very much for the follow. It's very kind of you, Arceus. So my normal stream is gold making on WoW. And then I also do quite a lot of creative as well. I like to get at least one in a week. I'm going to need a bit of paper actually. I don't want to smudge that side. But thank you ever so much for the follow. That's very kind of you. Let's get a bit of paper. This is my reference picture of the Naga. So this one is taken from the... Thank you very much. This is taken from the WoW model viewer. So that's my reference. And let's just sort that focus out. It keeps flicking. Let me just fix that up. Move that over, configure video, turn off the autofocus, otherwise that's just going to keep going in and out. Where's my focus? White balance, camera control, focus, auto, off. There we go. Just turn that off, so that'll be easier. Let me know if the music gets too loud or too quiet. I might drop it down a little bit if it gets too loud. So that's my reference anyway, but I'm going to use that just to stop myself from smudging this side. There we go. Put the mouse down, don't need that. So I think it's probably worth going further down and mapping out the rest of this so that we've got everything in. Hey Evil Dinner, how are you? Thanks for stopping by the stream. How are you doing today? I hope your Saturday is shaping up to be a nice one. I want to do really big belly scales here. And then probably... I had a little bit there, so I'm going to probably do another diamond there and another one there, and then make this one a great big belly scale like that, I think. Hey Acanthera. So I hope I got that right. Thanks for stopping by. Hope you're doing well today. Thank you very much. It's very kind of you to say so. We've taken a while to do this, Naga, but that's kind of like where I spend a lot of my time, is doing all these details, all the scales. That's where I enjoy a lot of the drawing. Getting the base shape out was fairly quick by comparison. I've got this big diamond that I want to accentuate, so I'm actually going to make this a massive central diamond that's going to have some knobbly shape to it, I think. Like that, so I'm going out and in there just to make it seem more spectacular, and then pull in the sides here. So I've got another line here like that, and then pull that down. So that's kind of like, this is the big belly scale area, which now needs to come. If I divide this in two, this area there needs to now come round like that. So that's the belly. Anything below this line is the belly, and then anything above is going to be back scales. So I want to have a different texture between each of those, which means here it's got a little bit confused. So I might actually just pull that down into more back scale designs that are following the bend of, otherwise it's going to be really flat, and I want to, this is compressing in on itself, so I'm going to do a little bend round design just to sell that needs to say I'm bending round, and this is the shape I'm taking, so that we can get that compression that's all happening in that section there. That's the kind of my thinking behind it anyway. And then I just might follow that around because I quite like that pattern. And then the back can be something different, I think. Maybe what I'll do is taper this down from here to here, so we've got a full-on line like that, and then I know where these are going to go. Don't talk and just listening to tips, no problem, Arceus. I'm happy to talk about my thinking whilst I do this, because a lot of the time that's what you lose in the kind of, you know, when people do the speed paints and it's all quiet, or they got upbeat music on it or something like that, you forget that these things take a lot of time and a lot of experimentation, and they make it seem like it's easier than it is. And you get things that you don't like the look of, and you get things you do like the look of, and I don't like to use a rubber a lot, but I'm going a bit smudgy there, so I just want to take that line off there. And I think it's nice to be able to talk about what you're thinking whilst you're doing drawings, because in the same, like if it was doing maths, you'd show your workings out. This is kind of similar. Otherwise it makes it look like you just did this and it was really, really easy, which is never the case. It just takes time. Things like that can put a lot of people off. We're having some sort of explanation. It's like, absolutely, that's my thinking anyway. Because of everyone wants to make something that looks amazing, but for every amazing drawing that you're really happy with, there's going to be at least 10 that you're less happy with and you'd want to improve some way, shape or form. That's the standard WoW music. That might be a little bit loud. Let me just turn that down. There we go. Hopefully that's not too loud in the background. At least it fits with the theme of Warcraft. Just thought for a minute then I had logged into WoW. It was on in the background. Yeah. No problem, Arceus. Thanks for the feedback. That's good to know. Alright. That's the lines. Those lines. I could do with doing the fin lines at some point here. Just going to have a quick coffee slurp. I'll leave that there for now. Right, just making sure I'm not going to smudge. You can see I've already smudged that a little bit there. If I can gently take that out. Oh, there's a bit of smudge there as well. What I'll have to make sure I do is fix this with some fixative when I'm complete, and that'll stop it from smudging any further. You can also use hairspray as well. That's a cheaper alternative. You don't have to get fancy art equipment. You just give it a blast with hairspray, if you happen to have some. Obviously, I'm not someone that uses hairspray. There we go. Let's just clean that up a little bit. Right, let's see if I can just move this forward a little bit, so I can move the paper back a little bit. Hold on. There we go. That's going to just shift myself backwards. I don't want to move too far out of the camera as well. It's careful balance because I'm sat on the floor doing this. It's my normal drawing position. And my normal streaming position for that fact. I do everything sat on the floor. Right, that line, and then this is going to come right underneath, so I've got to think about what kind of lines I'm going to do for this. That's a big scale, which is coming down here. And do I split this arm into another diamond? I think that would be quite nice if I did, but I'll just do a smaller one like that. And then this line, I'm actually going to bring it across a little bit more, and then take that down, and that's going to go underneath that scale, which then brings, I'm trying to think of it, imagine it kind of compressed, and then being, this area is really squashed down, so you want to think about getting that impression that this is squashed. So I'm trying to sort of put that line out a little bit and think about it whilst I draw these lines to give that impression of compression. So that line's going to actually tuck underneath quite a bit. And then I'm going to bring it back. Now I could connect it up here, or I could connect it up here. I want to keep the sharper lines actually. So probably take it here. Let's take that line there. And I can take out those light lines I've just drawn. Like that. You can't pick that up. I'm drawing really lightly here, so you can't pick it up quite so much on the camera, but I'll come back and do these in more detail. But the thing I'm doing here is this, I'm doing a little curve here that almost makes it look like it's billowing out and then coming back in. That's probably a bit too much, that one. So it's a very sort of gentle S shape. Connecting these lines up. I'm not sure whether that should work actually. I'm okay with that because then we can use those lines and follow. That will give us a contour to follow. So curve and up, curve and up. I'm gonna have to get a bit of paper now. Let's go over that. Let's cover up my own lines, cover up my own hand so I don't smudge. And then rounded, that's rounded, and then that's the other way. That's rounded and the other way. And then this is going to be more rounded, I think, because it's less compressed, because this is quite lightweight, I would think. The end of the tail isn't as heavy as the rest. And then covering up as I go. I know you can't see what I'm doing in terms of following the lines, but when I take it off, then we can see the whole idea, the whole effect. Do that one, do that one. And then like that to the tip. So now we've got this lot here. A movement without a trident. Vicarek, thank you very much for stopping by. That is a very good point. Doesn't have a trident. I didn't think of one in my original drawing because I was going more for the unarmed combat from the WoW model viewer. This is the character I had. Now I could stick a trident in the back. In the front hand, not so much. I hadn't planned for one, so this is going to be. You know, ideally, I would have put a trident in. Maybe I could even put one stuck in the ground, in the background, or something. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's a very good point that I did miss out the trident, which I am beginning to regret a little bit now that I've gone further into the drawing. But some things I might not be able to correct. There we go. Hey Blomp, how are you? Thanks for stopping by. I've got myself some coffee here, so I'll slurp on that for the moment. Hopefully that will help out a little bit. Still, fierce snake boy. Yes, it is, very much so. Thanks for stopping by. Brilliant. Alright, so we're going to do that and that. We're going to do these spines next. These are lightly done. I got these blue pencils, which are really good for doing your initial outlines, because when you scan in a drawing, you can just select the blue channel and take away all the blue, and so all these rough little lines that I did originally can be easily taken out in Photoshop, and then I'm just left with the grayscale. But I am going to do some larger scales for the back. I want him to be, because this is definitely more, this is becoming a bit more rattlesnakey, and I'm thinking this top area is going to be more armoured, like a crocodile. There we are. Do those, and do that. I think the back is the only place it would work, largely out of frame. Yeah, I think so, Vicar X. Sorry, I didn't catch up on that one before. Yeah, I think so. Oh, and hey Clayton, I didn't see you come in there. And Brain Damaged, apologies, I didn't catch you coming in. Thanks for stopping by. Oh, and I'm up late or early. It's 11 PM for you. Right, there you go. Sorry, I've missed all the chat. Okay, yes, I'm. It's UK here, so it's in the morning. There we go. Just make sure I haven't missed anything else. Let me just run back. Yes. Brain damaged. Yeah, saw you coming in. There we go. Right. Okay. I missed a whole chunk of chat there. Apologies. Right. Let's make some space so we can turn this round. We're going to do the lines up the back for the spine next. I don't need that one actually. Let's take that off. There we go. So, spines. I haven't really got the detail of those in, so I'm going to do one up here. And then let's make that. Miss Data Pig, how are you? Thanks for stopping by. Do this line straight down. We're just doing some tail spines, for want of a better word. So I'm going to run the lines down. Trying not to make these too feathery. If you do like lots of little lines, they end up being really feathery, which doesn't work so well. Whereas if you do nice long lines, you can get a much cleaner line going. Oh, not like that one though. There we go. Doing very well, thank you here. We're having a nice relaxing morning. Drawing our Naga. And then we'll be gold streaming later on tonight. But this is a nice relaxed. I like to try and get at least one creative stream in during the week, usually on the weekend, as I've got a bit more time when I'm not working. So those are the back spines, and then we want to also do the fin flesh sails. Not sure what I'd call them. These I do a little bit more raggedy, and then I like to put in the odd tear, which is pull that down and do a little V, and then work my way back up, and then the same down here, and then that's quite a big one, do a little one there. Connect that up. Oh, I've got my timer on. I must remember to turn off my TSM timed alerts. Hold on, let me turn those off. That one and that one. Yeah, those ones I'll turn off. There we go, that should be easier. So we've got the main outlines done. And now comes the fun part, of filling in all the shading detail. Oh, we haven't done the scaly bits at the back here. I'll do those next. Map those out. I'm thinking I'm going to do scales a bit like these. I'm going to do those on the back. We'll probably get that shape going, I think so. No problems, Zach and Thera. Thanks ever so much for stopping by. Hope to see you soon. Right, this is where... Okay, let's do this scaly bits first. The scaly tail back. So... this is going to be less regular. I want to break up the lines now, so we don't want one big line. Which means I'm going to make these actually bigger and cross over and become more square looking. I think would be better for these. So they fit around. I'd like to get some bit of three-dimensionality into this as well. So I'm thinking thin here to represent the back, and then thicker there, but then also do some irregular shapes so it's not quite so standard, I would think. And then do that around. It's kind of connecting up where I'd expect some bigger scales to go. That getting a little bit smaller. That one. Then the end, I'm just going to follow, getting smaller and smaller. Little thin ones at the top, and then get bigger there, right down to the end, and then the end scale, probably just something that goes round the end to make it seem like a bit more knobbly, like that. So again, very faint at the moment. We're going to come back and do a bit more detail once we start thinking about the shading. So coming back all the way up the body to where I last left off with shading, which is just under the pectoral muscles, my main key light is coming down this direction from the top. So I've left it light here, catching the highlights all here, but I've also got a bounce light that comes in this side. So anything that's not affected by the key light but might have some light there is also going to have a highlight. So looking at that, a deep shady area is going to be around this chest, which makes this is going to be quite dark. This edge is going to catch some light. This edge is going to catch a little bit of light, and that will help separate this shape from the back tail. And then further down here, this all is going to be in deeper shadow, following on from there. That section's in shadow, which will then help this section stand out. That floor's obviously going to be in shadow, and then I won't have a lot of bounce light here. So thinking about light, I might use which is the sharpest? None of them really. I might use a bit of that as well, but it's going to be mainly my thin one for this, I think. Let's fold this up just so I've got space. Actually, I'll get a plain sheet of paper, that'll be easier. Right, here we go. So, shading. My head might go out of camera here because I tend to look a bit closer when I start shading. Either that or I have to put my glasses on. This is going to be following on from my lines that I've done, which I want to keep accentuated for the scales. Yeah, the other thing I could probably do is raise this up higher. Let's do that, and then we've got more details we can follow. I'll get a box to put the drawing on. Right, so what I'll do, this will make it easier. I'm going to move this closer. There we are. And that way I can have that there and that there. And let's move this higher. That way we can get it. We'll have to change the focus now of the camera. Let's see if you can get it to refocus on that. Focus. See if it focuses on that. Can it focus? Doesn't look like it's focusing at all. Where's the focus? There. That's got it a bit more detailed. That way, with my bit of paper on the top, we're not going to cover things too much. And I've got the drawing closer now, so I can actually see a bit better. And it's closer in, so everyone else can see better. And then we can move it further away once we've done a bit more details. I'm keeping a light bit of shadow. A light shadow? No, a dark bit of shadow where it's hidden, and then a light bit of highlight where the fill light is just catching the edge. Otherwise this would be all really dark. And we can at least get an idea as to how dark this area is. And then there, the light's going to start being caught by the main light, so I can switch it round. There, that's probably going to be darker though. That's all in shadow. All the way down, like that. Just turn that off. Right, okay, so let's get a bit closer onto these. Tap a little bit, I like this one. Darkness down here, darkness down here. Pull that in. That should just about work. And then I can also look at the camera on the feed and get a second perspective of this. So I can see that this is coming out quite light. But what I'll do is go over this darker overall, like shadow all over it, and that will give me a better sense of depth. I want to cover at least the main areas here into shadow. So we go a bit more, and a bit more down here. Just working each scale further down and further down. Try and get a bit more texture in it as well, so it seems a bit rough. Otherwise it's just following the pencil line. Otherwise you could just draw all the way over something. But I want to get the impression that this is, each individual scale has some texture to it. So I'm not doing all in the same direction, my strokes, crisscrossing them a little bit if I need to. But the key thing is to make sure that the lines that define the edge of each scale is nice and sharp. Otherwise it gets lost and you don't get that impression of scales. Oh, cat wants to come in. I have to just make sure. Yeah, she definitely wants to come in. Oops. Come out. One out, one in. Come on then. That's a good boy. There we are. Right. Back again. Move my cushion in. Oopity tits. Right, okay. Okay on that, and move that back round. Then I can at least see the drawing myself at the same time. Move that up a little bit. Then got that. That line in there, and that deep shadowy bit there. And coming out from that shadow, all of that side is in shadow. Keep that highlight clean. And then draw all the shading bits there, keep that highlight clean. And then that can be much darker. But I want to catch some light, because that underneath is going to be dark. Because that's the crease that I've got on one of his kind of abdominal creases. From his underneath the scales is a six-pack of sorts, and I mapped out where they would be. So I'm just trying to make sure that I keep this line here going, because then your eye will fill in the blanks and give you that impression of a buff myrmidon. Yeah. No worries, Sarkius. Thanks ever so much for stopping by. Went for a cigarette and came back and all the back spines were done. Yeah, the big details are easy and quick to do. It's this stuff, the noodling of the light and the shadow, takes time, but I really enjoy doing this side of things. This is where I, can get lost in the details. I want to get at least all these scales done. Well, the next cat wants to come in now. Might as well just leave the door open, but then it's going to get cold in here. It's still a bit chilly out. And do that, do that. And then once I've done the bulk of these, I can look at it overall and get an idea as to what pattern to do next in terms of overall shadow. Once I've done all of these. Yeah. And that's a line there. Got a bit lost there, so make sure I get that one back in. And then that one back in. And then I can do shadowy detail on each of these. And then that one. I wondered whether the music had stopped then, but it's still in the background. Must be a slightly more ambient track. And then my head keeps bobbing in and out of the top right camera, but that's my eyesight likes to get really close sometimes, just to make sure I can draw everything and see all the details close up. Let's get that one deep actually. Let's think shadow, because this is still looking very light. What I can do is go over this with my other pencil, with one of these, and just give this all a very light layer over the top, just to take the darkness down a little bit, because this is still supposed to be darker than that. So I can just add a grain over the top, take the overall tone down. And this is super duper light. But it just does take a level of that down. So make sure I get all those details back in. So with the tip I can just further accentuate them. Down further. And this one's looking a bit light. Yeah, so that's a bit darker now. Quite a bit darker in fact than this. I might even be able to take this lot down, because this is tucked under his armpit. So I do want to make this a little bit darker, thinking of the overall shape of the body. So take that much lower in shadow. All down here. All down in there. So we're getting darker and darker and darker, which will hopefully give us a bit more depth to the drawing as a whole. And that helps highlight the lighter areas like this, the head, which I want to focus on anyway. Looks like my white balance keeps flicking in and out there. Let's fix that up as well. Properties, move that over there. Configure video. So white balance fixed, everything's fixed. If I turn that off, does it help? Exposure fixed, let's just turn that up. And we can see it better. There we go. That makes it a bit easier. Then everything's fixed and it doesn't change. Right, okay. So, moving on. Just make that a bit darker actually. I would say. Oh, my boom arm's in the way now, I can see that. Hold on, there we go. That's easier. And then I'll move my drawing over this way. There we go. Quick coffee break. I'm going to do all of this area quite dark, I think, so that his tentacly things stand out a bit more. But I'm going to keep a light highlight just around there, almost to say that's the line where one starts and one finishes. And then we'll go down here, 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 and here. Colour all that dark. Same with that. Just that little highlight we're going to keep. And then do that one. Oh, cat wants to come in again. Right, there we go. Both cats in now. Hopefully they won't want to go back out again straight away, which they usually do. Going close to this now, I'm thinking I need to make sure that the scales definition still holds, but also this is going to be dark enough so that you don't confuse it with the tentacle bit. So making use of the excellent sharpness of a retractable pencil, I can go over this and then keep the line dark over here and work that right into the scales. Just make sure I keep those hard lines to define the edges. Alright, the cat wants to go back out again, but I'm going to ignore that for the moment. Otherwise I'll be up and down like a yo-yo. Same with those actually. Those can be much darker now. Yeah. And then the same this side. And then we can do this one around. Trying to get a bit of curvature in these now. So cross-hatching and following the contours of the body a little bit. Gives me more control. And if I find I'm shading and the tip is wearing down a little bit, I just do a quick rotate like that and go back to a sharp bit, and then that keeps the tip really sharp, which is useful for the fine details like this. Welcome back. We're just doing tiny scale details in the deepest shadowy area of the chest, so we're having to work up from white all the way down to dark, but doing it in such a way as to keep the texture of the scales going. So I'm making sure I've got the lines, hard lines done first, and then work in the shadow thinking of the direction the light's coming in, which is, this is bounce light, so it's coming up from the bottom. I want a bit of overlap in these scales, so I'm not going to join them straight to the bottom. And then that's slightly curvy, that's slightly curvy, and then you can do deeper shadows, connecting everything up. And then the same with that. And then that can go dark. To make that scale. I mean, the temptation is to try and rush this and try and fill it in as quickly as possible. But so long as I keep on each individual scale, then that impression comes through on the drawing. Whereas if I run over it, then the lines of the pencil will cross over these harder lines that I'm trying to keep, and that's where you lose the definition. So even though it takes a long time, I personally like to do these details nice and carefully. Yeah. Patience is the key, absolutely. And as long as you enjoy it. I mean, I love just getting lost in these details, so for me, this is kind of the zen part of drawing, where I really like to lose myself in the details, and then just think about the shape, think about the light, think about the three-dimensionality of it, whilst I'm imagining the texture of the scales or whatever part of the body. I mean, this one's obviously full of scales. I'll do a little line there to split that scale up, so I can keep this abdominal line running through. Although that one breaks it up, which will do for now. That one is looking lost on its own, so I'll do some details there, going scale by scale, working our way down. Showing a bit more's coming through. Work our way right down. And then we'll do this one, that one. One, and then this can go deeper shadow. Might as well do this whole section actually. Seeing this is definitely going to have caught the light because it's right on the edge of his body as it bends round. Let's get the scales in first. The sharp lines, and then we can do the shadow fill areas in next. want that to be darker. So that this line stands out. So we go back over the whole of that. Make sure it's darker. And then this big scale. Get some lines going over it. These are bendy lines I'm drawing so that they convey a bit of depth. I'm trying to almost tuck one scale in behind another. And then turn that one into that one. And we'll do this one down. And this one round, deep in there, for some more shadow. Same with that one there. And then looking at that as a whole, that needs to be darker. That needs to be darker. That's going to be darker. There we are. Now the other side. This line here is the central line of the abdominal area. So I want to keep that nice and dark, because that will help define all of this area. And I'll do all these deeper and deeper down. Well, that has the line crossing over it. So what I'll do is actually just make this whole area quite deep and dark. Same with that one next to this one. And then this one, how dark should I do this one? This one should be quite dark. Through there, but at least catch that highlight, and that can be darker there. Not sure where that scale's come from there. I think it's coming across here. Same as that one. Make sure I get the definition correct. And the dark bits in there correct. To at least say that is the centre of your abdominal area. Okay. Scale, scale, all in shadow. That's all in shadow. And that's all in shadow. And do that bit, a bit, a bit. And then that one. That definitely needs to be darker. And I can follow that one round. And that. Yeah, I'll do this one. Pretty much dark. And the same with that one. I know this is kind of getting lost a little bit in the double shadowness, so what I want to try and do is just get that actually even darker, but keep that line if I can. So you don't lose that side of it really. That's the main thing I want to do is keep this defined. And then we can do the scales coming out from there. Remember this is being the bounce light's coming right in from the side here, so this is actually going to be quite light now. So it's going to be much darker this side. That way I can at least say, here's the light from this side. This is the shape of the scale. This is in shadow. But all this is catching the light. That's in shadow. Doing these little curvy lines still to try and say these scales have some roundness to them. You barely pick it up, but it's very subtle in terms of at least saying this shape is round and this shape is flat. I don't really want it looking flat. Each individual scale needs to have its own shape, which is like this, a little bendy line. So I'm then just flicking the pencil out from here and doing this bit in. Schniffle, thank you ever so much for the follow. That's very kind of you. That's taken me up to 850, closer to my 1,000 follower goal. Thank you very much. So, for those that don't know, as a way of celebrating my getting 1,000 follows in Twitch, once I reach that goal, I'm going to do a giveaway of one of my drawings of one I've done of Gen Greymane, which I did on the stream earlier. This one here I've done of Gen Greymane. I've signed it, and so I'll be actually giving away that original drawing once I reach 1,000 follows on Twitch. So we're getting close, getting very close. So thank you very much for that follow, it's much appreciated. I'm just going to work in some more details. Really want these to be accentuated because they're catching the light. I might have to go over them a little bit to take some of the highlights down a notch because they're looking a little pingy at the moment. When I look up at the camera, I'm losing where's light and where's dark overall. From an individual scale point of view I can see, because I'm just doing this detail like this, but from a overall shape of the body it's kind of a bit lost. So we'll go over it once we've done a few more scale details. Like this one, the important one. So then we can colour that deeper. Deeper. And that's quite compressed actually. This is coming in here. So this scale has lost its diamond shape, which means this is all going to be quite dark. It's just popping out a bit of lightness at the end there. The same with that over there. Keep this nice and dark. Having to press quite hard for this bit, so you've got to be confident in where you're going to press hard, otherwise it gets a bit scruffy, which is why I'm working on do a bit more there. Do I use any tools to smudge blend your shades, or do I render them manually? Pretty much everything's manual on this one. Elimini, thanks for stopping by. What I tend to find with smudge tools is I tend to get very inaccurate with them, and I lose some of my hard lines. So for these, the way I like to draw is literally, if I need to cover an area, I painstakingly cover it with cross-hatching, small shading details. I mean, obviously, yes, it takes a lot longer to do it that way, but it means I can keep the sharp details that I like to keep. I mean, smudging and using larger tools is great for covering large areas as well, for backgrounds and things like that. Good morning, Gumdrops, how are you? Thanks for stopping by. How's your article writing going? Lots has been happening in WoW this week. What's the topics for this week? Including, oh, thank you very much, Limini, that's very kind of you. And thanks for stopping by the stream and hanging out. I'll do a little bit more, I've got to get some deep detail in here. This scale needs. It looks odd when you've got a white odd one that hasn't been done yet. I kind of went round in a, almost reminds me of sweet corn, where a few of the kernels have gone light and dark, but I really don't want my Naga to look like sweet corn, so let's keep the snakiness. Oh, it's a loud track, hold on. Let's take that down a notch. Some of these tracks I've got, because they're the big city zones, they're quite overly dramatic, which is great when you're going into the game in World of Warcraft, but it's when you're drawing, the difference with the zone music is quite big. Not quite started yet, poaching some more eggs, excellent. Got to get started with a good breakfast, definitely. And poached eggs, definitely the good one. Oh, thank you, Eliminate for the, I just worked out how to pronounce your name there. Eliminate for the follow. That's very kind of you. That's one step closer to my follower goal of 1,000, so thank you very much. So when I poach my eggs, I use the time it takes to pop down 2 slices of toast in the toaster as my timer for my eggs. So I literally plonk the eggs in the water and then put the toast down at the same time, and then my eggs will be ready at the same time the toast pops. Maybe give it a little bit longer because I like my toast quite light. Once you allow for time to butter the toast, then the eggs will be ready. That's how I time my poached eggs. I do love poached eggs. Especially my chickens aren't laying anymore though. I love it when I have their eggs. But we have to buy eggs now, unfortunately. Because my girls are old and they don't lay many eggs now. Now I've got some overlap here with the scales, so that I want to keep those lines because those are really good for saying this whole area is compressed, and I want to keep that bendiness that's going on here. That's exactly what you do, is it, Gumdrops? Yeah, perfect technique. Toast timer. And then maybe, oh, it's a good season for having asparagus now. Let's get some mushrooms on the go, and a bit of asparagus to go with your poached eggs. And that's golden, that is. Where are we with these scales? I'm drawing some more deeper lines whilst I'm going around this, just so that I've got it worked out. I think I should have one there. And then I'm going to come back and do some shading. Just going to make sure I stretch a little bit. Yeah. Do I use vinegar? I don't actually. I've heard it does help with keeping the eggs together. What I try to do instead of that is get eggs that are as fresh as possible, because really good fresh eggs hold their own shape really well anyway. So I tend to just do that. But yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've heard of the vinegar technique. And some people talk about swirling the water in a circle and then putting the eggs in. But I don't bother with that because I have lots of eggs. I have at least 4. So I want to make sure I can fit them all in the pan. Fresher the better, definitely. Boiled eggs, not so much. Boiled eggs need to be a bit older. But for poached, definitely the fresh. And obviously when you don't have your own chickens, you've got to think of the time it takes for them to collect the eggs, package them up, and then pop them in the box and then sell them. And they can only say freshest on them instead of fresh when it's within 9 days. So it's quite a while compared to how many, if you want to do when you want to do sort of really fresh eggs, it's interesting to know how long it takes to get them from the farm. There we go. Do 3 or 4 as well, yeah, definitely. I think one slice of toast needs at least 2 eggs on it, definitely. Okay, I'm going to do a bit darker. You off. Right, getting a bit further along here. There we go. There we go. Okay. Do that a bit deeper. Just move this up a little bit. There we go. Alright. So I'm going to do this a little bit deeper down. And then work around here. Keeping all these bits, these deep bits shadowed. Shadow, lots of shadow to give that depth. And that one I definitely want to do nice and shadowy. Yeah. Now looking at this on the camera, I can see that these 3 are actually quite a bit lighter than I want them to be. But I've still got some missing scales here. What I'll do is do the whole area of this waistline, and then I'll come back and make some of these darker. That crease area definitely needs shadow in there. And then that, I'll try and get some deep, I want to keep those lines there, because those that look really good, all compressed together. Because you're getting some real squishy bead. You know how like snake scales almost look like beads on certain snakes? I want to do that kind of effect, but I'm also trying to get some creases going on here. So I'm just putting in these lines a bit darker to help get that line and definition out, and like that. So that way, that there, but this is the bit I want to do nice and compressed. So the diamonds aren't so much straight lines now, but they're really curvy, because they're trying to represent the beadiness of each of these. Like that. Tick in there, and then squashed right in there. And that one there. That one there. Rip! Oh, has it gone? Or just you? I don't know. Let me have a check on the stream, see if it's still going. No, I think it's still going. It's a bit delayed. No, it's still going. Yep. Oh, thank you, Sniffle, for the feedback. Could be. I remember that I was having trouble with Twitch. When was it? On Thursday? Thursday when I streamed. I couldn't stream at all for a good sort of 20 minutes or so. It was saying I was going live, but I was still offline on Twitch, which was really weird. It turns out Twitch forgot to put some pennies in the meter, so once they fixed that, it all worked out, thankfully. So these curvy lines I'm trying to keep going. I know we're doing meticulous little details at the moment, but this really helps the whole lot come together. Obviously I've got really small scales here that I'm doing, which is probably the most detailed area of the drawing, apart from the face. That was super detailed. But I want to make sure that these I've gotten the base shapes done. Curve, like that, and then shadow. Yeah. 2.0. Thank you very much, Sniffle. That's very kind of you. Yeah, a bit more contemporary, doing creatures from video games rather than landscapes. I've never been one for drawing or painting landscapes. I prefer creatures. When it comes to drawing, I really prefer to humans. I prefer stuff with hair and fur and scales. So I really like doing the texture on them. I'm not very good at doing humans. Oh, it's just your phone, was it? Okay. Good to know, thanks though, Gumdrops. It's worth checking on these things, because you never know, I could be broadcasting to no internet, which is never fun. Right, so I'm going to take a quick bio break in a minute. I'll leave this up, and then we'll come back to it and have a look at the scales in some more detail. Right. I should be back momentarily. Just put that there. Right. We're back. Let's find my headphones. There we go. We're back. Right, where was I? Scales. Lots and lots of scales. So let's get all of these drawn in, and then we'll be able to do some deeper shadows all around. Just want to cover the basics first. The basic highlight shadow per scale. This one, and this one. The light here, though, on this side needs to change direction. So that light on that side is going to be in shadow there, and that, the light that comes in under the arm, is catching there. So I'm keeping that that light there, and then I'm going to have to think about this section where the light changes from being on that side, on the right, to be on this side, on the left. So there'll be a point where there's a crossover. But let's do the obvious ones first, and then I can think about where the crossover would be. I can probably just pull it vertical and then do it, because this is always going to be in shadow, these bits, so I could probably just pull it round like that, and then keep that with a bit of light, and then the bottom with a bit of light, so they've both got light. And then do that. I think this is Warcraft 3 music that's just played. Because I have got the soundtrack for that. Yeah, do the same here. Make sure I keep the dark bit of the scale. And this one, trying to keep those bendy lines going, and then work into the corner where the deepest shadow is. Then I'll go back over this whole area to give it some more detail, and some more depth to the whole torso, is what I mean. I'm working basically from the highlight edges into the top corner, which is where the deepest shadow will be. So I'm doing very faint lines that are slightly curvy around, and then little, and I press harder and harder until I get right into that corner, and then that defines one scale. And then I move on to do another one, so it's lots of light curvy lines to get the basic texture, and then harder lines for the next layer, and then just really, really deep hard lines for that section there. And obviously some of these are looking a lot lighter and a lot darker, so we're going to have to go back over these and balance them out. To do this area here definitely needs to be dark, because that's again the stomach creased bit. There we go. Okay, Gumdrops, thanks ever so much for stopping by. I hope the writing goes well. Look forward to seeing the article on excuse me, on Wowhead when it comes out later today. And I'll try and catch in on your stream later as well. Catch up on the highlights. If anyone else listening wants to listen to all the goings on with the WoW economy, check out Gumdrops' stream, where we'll go over the weekly wrap up later on today, where you've got lots and lots of really good information about the goings on in the gold making community. So it's well worth checking out. Alright, got my details going on here, but it's not dark enough. It needs to be darker. Otherwise this whole area just looks flat. And I really like these curvy ones I've got going on here. Let's move this up higher. Actually no, I can't get a sense of direction if I turn it there. I'm going to keep it this way round. There we go. So this missing scale, I've got a lot of different lights and darks here, so I definitely need to fix that up. And I haven't got the direction right on that one, so let's just cover that in darker. I think, yeah, I want to make all that dark, and then that in and out. And that one. And that there needs to be dark. And that there needs to definitely be dark. Try and catch these highlights without losing the definition of those lovely curvy lines I drew in originally. Can be the problem when you're doing details, is when you've got some nice hard lines first, you're now replacing that with shading detail, which if you're not careful you can lose the definition you were going for in the first place. Which is why I try and just shade to the hard lines that I've got. So I'll just pull it down a little bit and pull everything in, and try and keep those hard lines. Like there, it's really hard because you're right close to the edge. But if you keep your pencil sharp with your point, you can actually still keep all the details clean, which is the main thing you want to do in a situation like this. And then do everything deeper and darker down like that. And then that's quite nice. I quite like how that's going. That there needs to be dark. I'm going to start thinking about the overall shading of this area soon, now that I've got most of them in. My light's gone more to the side highlight here, because it's only the key light that's catching it at the moment. And it's very much rounded beads now for this area, which I'm okay with for this bit, because I do want to get that compression effect going around the bent waist area, and then I can pull it out later and do these nice long ones later, which is going to be looking forward to doing those. I can probably speed up a little bit on that area, although I don't want to rush it. It's important to enjoy the whole process, even though sometimes it can seem a bit tedious doing one scale after another. This is where the patience comes in. But patience is one of those things that it doesn't seem like patience if you're enjoying it. If you're not enjoying it, then it'll just go on forever. Right, getting close. I think this is the next waist crunch. So I'm going to make that quite a bit darker, and that a bit darker. And pull those in a little bit, and then that needs to have a little bit more there, and this one. This is where I started making the scales bigger, and I wasn't quite sure how they would fit, so it does seem a little confused here somewhere. But that's okay, because we're going to pull this all into shadow once I've done the base shading, so it's not going to seem quite so confused or be quite so much of a problem. Hey Meggans, how are you? Thanks for stopping by. I love drawing. I don't do it much on stream, about once a week, but I like to try and keep with the Warcraft theme, obviously doing a Naga here, but thanks for stopping by. This one's taken us a few streams to get to this point, but it's been lots of fun, just working on lots of different little details and scales and things. How are you doing today? I hope all is well with you. Crunch that one in. Light, shadow, darkness, highlights. That's all I'm thinking about at the moment. And then beads is the other thing I'm thinking about, because that's the curvy shape of these scales. Right, okay, so this is all looking a little bit, there's some bits that are light, some bits that are dark. It really needs to come together now into more of a cohesive light and shadow section. Might look down on this a little bit. It's gone to my knees one moment. That way I can look down and get over the top of the drawing and think about, okay, this lot is going to be more in shadow. Actually, I'll use one of my other pencils just to go over this. Hey Ballsy, how are you? Thanks for stopping by. You're good? Oh, you can always get back into it, Meggans. I found that I've gone years, literally years, without drawing. And then when I come back to drawing, it's like I've just rediscovered an old friend, and you can pick up exactly where you left off, and it's really nice just to remember why you used to draw in the first place, and to also just enjoy the process. And yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about, feeling like, oh, I should have done this before, or should have done this. We all should have done stuff, but we don't do it. So I encourage everyone just to, if there's something you love that you're not doing, for whatever reason, just, whatever's stopping you, just do it anyway. Not wanting to get into like a Shia LaBeouf meme or anything like that, but I love it when you just can pursue your passion, whatever that might be. Doing very well here, thank you, Ballsy. Just working on some deeper shadow detail at the moment, trying to pull together the Naga shading detail we've got going on. So where I've done all the little individual scale highlights, I'm now just going over and making the central part of the torso dark, like overall dark, by going over the whole thing. And then that will at least, this highlight I'm keeping nice and sharp and not blended, and then this highlight I'm keeping, because that's the fill light bouncing in here, this middle area needs to be much darker. So I'm just going over everything. You've got a snake drawing. Ah, excellent, Meggans. Yeah, I'd love to see that when you've even work in progress. If you want to share it on either on stream or on the Discord, I'd love to see that. I love drawing reptiles, although the scales can take quite a while to go through. Yes, if post it up. If you've got an image link, links are okay on the stream. Now we're going much darker. I don't want to go too smudgy, so I want to use my sharp pencil again just to go back into the scale details that I originally did. And this area, which was compressed, I want to just think about where that compression was and put some darker lines in. So that we get that squishedness. There we go, let's have a look. That's awesome, I'm loving that. You've really captured the curvature of the bit just behind the neck, and then when it comes round, that area, I love that. That's really nice. Cool, I look forward to seeing that finished. I can see your outlines you've got going further back. That's awesome. Yeah, definitely finish that one, Meggans. I think that'll come out really nicely. What I can tell from there is that you've really thought about the shape of the patterning that's going around the body, and that gives it a real three-dimensionality. So I'm going to do that darker. that darker. I want to try and get some more of that line texture that I did have in there. I've gone off pieced a little bit with those. You get so motivated to go 200% for a few hours, and then just when you want to continue the next day, you lose your inspiration. Yeah, it's a common thing. I have that myself. It's getting over that initial inertia, really. Once you get over that it's almost lack of inertia. Once you get going, you get going. I did this thing a while back where I to get back into drawing, I said, right, okay, for 60 days, draw one thing a day. Doesn't matter what you do, even if you scribble on a bit of paper. And as long as I made that commitment to put pen to paper or pencil to paper, even if it's a scribble or something in frustration, you start doodling, and you'd be surprised that once you've broken that, people do like warm-up sketches. It's a bit like that, really. But even if you're not sure, it's just starting. That initial action, that initial inertia is what really helps. Yeah, I can definitely recommend it. That's what got me back into drawing after not doing one for years and years. I probably went, I've done the odd sketch, but nothing consistently for a long while. So that really helped me get back into the flow of things, is just by doing that. And that's when I discovered my love of drawing animals. It started with that, and I very quickly started drawing animals, and then I remembered that was the little boy who used to sit in front of nature documentaries drawing, and tapped into that. Generally hand paint custom shoes. That's awesome. They're like, I know you can get like blank Converse All-Stars, can't you? I know people like to do things like that. That sounds cool. Let's have a look. Hey, loving the Kirby ones. That's brilliant. That's awesome. What do you use to paint on the shoes? Does it have to be? Do you have to protect them or something from the rain? Is it acrylic, and then do you spray over them? How does it work in terms of medium? Or is it felt tip even onto this? Oh, there's leather paint you can get. Ah, cool. I didn't know there was such a thing. Acrylic will burst when you put them on. Yeah, I figured it wouldn't be. I mean, it's slightly plasticky, so I thought it might be useful, but okay. But there's a special leather paint you can do. I can imagine my daughter doing something like that to pimp out her shoes. I don't tend to have a lot of shoes. I have my trusty DMs. You remove the layer first. They put on in the factory. Yeah, of course they're going to put some protection on it, won't they? So the leather paint really seeps in. Okay. So how do you remove that top layer? Do you sand it down, or do you use a chemical to remove it? I use a sealer to put it back on. Right, okay. Oh, it is a chemical, right. So one to take it off, then you paint, and then you put your own back on over the top. Now I'm thinking the light here needs to be that definitely needs to be in shadow before I do anything else. So, looking overall, still a fair amount to do. Preparer and deglazer. Okay, so it's all from this brand, the brand Angelus. Okay, they've got the whole range sorted. That's cool. Maybe I ought to think of pimping my DMs up. Because they're just a deep blue colour at the moment. Maybe I could think of something World of Warcraft related on them. That would be quite cool. Now I'm doing a bit of a texture change as I'm coming into this part of the body, so I need to think about how I'm going to shade this detail. Going from beads of snake scales to something else. Last year, a lifetime with a bottle. You only use black, white, and prime colours, so you mix your own. That's easy enough, isn't it? I mean, so it looks like they're fairly small areas anyway. So I can imagine you wouldn't use a lot of paint, as it was. And then Copic markers or other markers to do the details. Okay, that's awesome. Right, they're alcohol based. So keep everything the same base, and then it's not going to interfere or counteract each other chemically, as it were. Tote bags, shirts, shoes, baseball caps. Oh, okay. So you could do a whole line of different things. That's cool. Do you do like just personal commissions and things, or do you do it all personal, just for you? Let's have a look at this one. Oh, these are brilliant. I like the dragon. The dragon's got some real... Actually, and the fin of the carp is looking really nice. And then the detail you've got in the dragon in its whiskers is coming out really nicely on that. Must be hard to try and keep the finer detail when you're drawing around something curvy. I'm just do shoes on request. Everyone has their own shoe size, so that's a good point, yeah. Or baseball caps, yeah. So in terms of like generic ones that are pre-made, you could do those, and then commissions on a specific size. That would work. Once you've got it looks like you've got a decent portfolio of stuff. I'm sure there's probably a market for it. Yeah, I bet that was. Did you give it like a white base layer first, and then go over it? Oh yeah, pre-shape it with white and then go over it with layers. Yeah, okay, that would make sense to do it that way. Right, I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to do this detail on these bigger scales yet. So I'm just thinking basic long lines first. Oh, there is. Wow, brilliant. Oh, I think you've definitely got the skills. And you've got a portfolio of work, so I say go for it. If you haven't already, that is. Have you got an Etsy store? Feel free to ping a link to it in chat if you have. Yeah, just need to change position. I can kneel for a little bit, but then I have to sit cross-legged. Well, you never know, Megan. So I would, from what I can tell, I would say there's definitely a market for it. So putting it out there and then marketing it's the next thing, so that letting people know about it. Otherwise, everything just gets drowned in the sea of internets. Hard to make things on command. Right, in terms of it changes the way you feel about something, doesn't it? Because now you're having to do something for someone else rather than putting your love of the design. I can understand that. It does change slightly in terms of what emotions you put into the work, which does come through. Your passion when you was younger was trying to become a tattoo artist. I do admire a good tattoo, I must admit. I don't have any myself, but when I see someone that's got some really cool tattoos, it does make me think, ooh, maybe one day. But I haven't. I'd kind of like to do my own design, probably. But it's not something I'm that passionate about, so I haven't taken the time to do it. I mean, being a I wonder how do you practice? Do you practice on, I guess, practice on a dead animal or something, or some dead skin? I guess pig skin or something like that you could practice on. Next one was middle school teacher, and I made of those. Made it very popular in school. Oh, hold on, mouse is gone. There we go, let's have a look. Nice. Yeah, down with the kids with that one. That's cool. Loving it. You get skin slates. Oh, right. Yeah, because you take... I guess you'd have to have a very willing person who doesn't mind you practicing on them. I can't imagine that would work very well. And because tattoos are so permanent, even though I know you can get them removed these days, you'd want to make sure you were confident in your skills to be able to do it first. I didn't realise I'm just going off camera there. Let's just move that a bit higher. I'm doing longer strokes now just to try and keep some of the shape along with some detail, really. Pound flesh. Pound of flesh. Wow, that sounds brilliant. Oh, right. Interesting. I like you can do hands as well and everything. That'd be cool to practice on. I like those. Hey Pop Geek, how are you? That's why you never get a tattoo while drunk. They give you to the noob to practice on. Yeah, I can imagine. and buy them in slates or in actual body shapes. Yeah. At least that way you can say you've practiced a few times before being released onto a live body. I mean, that's the thing, is how do you start? You might have done loads of slates and loads of body parts, but until that first person says, yes, you can tattoo my body, there's a big element of trust there, isn't there? Whoa. Let me just move a little bit closer. Sorry if my head keeps coming off camera. I start looking down, trying to catch everything. There you go. First tattoo was put on when you were 15 by a drunk guy drinking while he tattooed, and a big blue dolphin on his forehead. Oh, how did that go? Did it? Yeah, I can imagine. Are you able to get it tidied up though? People can do that, can't they? They can either go over it with a different design or convert it or clean it up, I imagine. In the same way, I could probably find a way of getting a trident into this sketch. Hey Bark2, how are you? Thanks for stopping by. You'll eventually get it covered if possible. Okay. So there are options. Right, I'm doing long wibbly lines for my texture on these scales to try and keep this flatness coming through. And then I'm thinking in planes, as in flat planes, like almost like a tortoise shell, to give me a shape to go with these flatter scales. Well, that's fair enough, Meggins. I guess it's down to personal preference then, if it's not visible to most people. I'm going to go back over this. I'm just getting the idea of these shapes down first. So thinking lines, planes, and then extra long widths along here like that. Hey Mr. Honkit, how are you? You got this background made for your hunter. Let's have a look. Oh, Dasinka. I've heard of Dasinka. They stream, don't they? That's cool. I like that. That's super nice. Tactically have them all covered, all coverable. That's probably a very wise choice, Meggins. Yeah, he's just started streaming Energy. Okay, I recognise the name. I remember someone else on one of the other streams talking about someone who did that with Photoshop. I think it was Pointy Gnome. Oh, hold on, the door's just gone. Excuse me one moment. Hey, Pointy Gnome. Just saw you there. We're literally just talking about you. I can't remember, it was you who mentioned about person Mr. Honker just linked to earlier up, Dasinka, doing some streaming with Photoshop and stuff. I can't remember whether it was you or possibly Emery, I think, was talking about it. It's not a streamer I've actually stopped by yet to see. Wasn't you? Okay, must have been someone else, I think, then. Everything. It could have been on Emery's then. It must have been that, Mr. Honkit. I remember it entering my consciousness. So it could have been that one. That's cool. Right. Details, more details. Delhi, is it Delhi Forka or Deliaka? But Delhi, thank you very much for the follow. That's very kind of you. Thanks for stopping by the stream. That's another step closer to my goal of 1,000. Thank you ever so much. Laystone Boy plan in just 10 minutes. What's a Laystone Boy? Or if you're American, buoy. It's used for engineering leveling. Ah, okay. Is that up? Laystone, I'm thinking, okay, that must be engineering. Engineering, Legion is what I'm thinking. Legion level. Okay, we're doing more plates here. So I'm doing these lines and then leaving a gap between them to simulate highlights and ridges. And then I'm just going in like this and covering the lines of each thing. I'm not sure how well this is going to work out, but I think it's coming up with a design that's going to work. There we go. And you sold another leatherworking belt for 100k. Wow, which belt's that, Mr. Honkit? Something I might try unearthing. Selling for that much is huge. It's not a legendary or anything, is it? Or is it just a regular one? Or a hard to find pattern, perhaps? 100k is fantastic. Right, let's go sit down again. Right, this diamond shape next. One of the hard and magnificent hide ones, daily cooldown. Ah, okay. I'm working my way through those at the moment. The problem I'm having is getting hold of enough magnificent hides, because exotic leather is pricey, magnificent hides themselves are pricey, and even the Shah scrap things that you use for the exotic is pricey. So the only other thing I could probably do is start farming them. You've like 20,000 exotic leather in the last week. Wow, that's loads. So do you farm it or buy it? I imagine at that quantity you'd have to buy at least some of it. Leystone's so cheap. The only thing you need to level 1 to 600 engineering for. Oh, for the Sky Golem. Ah, right. I do need an engineer. I'm not sure who to use for my engineer. You only buy it, okay. I have trouble buying it at a decent price on my server. There's just not enough of it. But then mine's pretty low pop, so I'm not surprised there's not that many people out and about doing it. The crafts have a high value here, so you can pay more for your leather. Okay, well that's good at least. You can offset it. I was able to do that with my enchanting and the high price of chaos crystals for a while. But now that chaos crystals have gone way down in price, not so much these days. Still get a few profits. A few good profits, that is, like over 1,000. Which is a consistent seller. Where's this going? There, I think. Been here for 13 years. You've been here that long as well, Bark 2. That's fantastic. Yeah, I do like Shadow Song. It's the only server I've known since vanilla. I did try and sell some pets on Argent Dawn once, but it just didn't fit right with me. I much prefer my old stomping ground. I've never really been in a guild or anything on Shadow Song, but I've enjoyed my time on there. That's for sure. You moved server 5 times. Wow. Okay. Okay, Mr. Honker, you enjoy your doggo walk. Thanks for stopping by. Keep that one high, and that one there. There we go. Started out in vanilla on Silver Moon. Okay, you mean in the Burning Crusade you moved. Okay. So what didn't you like about Silver Moon? Because I think it was a fairly well populated one at that point, wasn't it? Is it an RP server, Silver Moon? I can't remember. Or PvP, is it? But yeah, I definitely like Shadow Song. It was just the randomest of servers that I picked when I started in vanilla. Okay, you were a horde on that side and that died out. Okay, that's fair enough. Do I want another? I have got a space for another little diamondy thing here. I'm going to put one in. Just a small one. And then I can go to that bigger one here. Just to give that some shape. And then we've got another line coming in here. Just to give that some shape too. There we go. No worries, Megans. Everyone has their lives and their weekend routines. It's just nice for people to stop by and chat whenever it is. So thank you for that. You don't want to mould in the washer. No, that would be not so much of a good thing. I'm going to do more of my line stuff here. I'm just inside the camera angle. There we go. Let's go along here and then Let's make this a little bit more interesting. It's planes and lines is the theme here. You sold a card for 220k. That's a nice flip. Liking that, Meggins. Pretty cool. Congratulations. Yeah, I've not looked into any of the TCG stuff. I wouldn't know what's valuable and what's not, so I'd probably end up making quite a few mistakes on that. Kind of working my way down here, doing the base kind of details of this spiny area, much more stony looking or basilisk looking, but then I want that when I start coming into here. I want to give that impression of raised armoured plates. Xmas card you made for a guild a while back. Let's have a look at this. Love that one. That's awesome. It's a really nice kneeling pose. Those are quite difficult to get right with the perspective. Thank you very much, Bark 2. It's all down to just practice, really. Yeah, same with you, Megan. It's practice, isn't it? Although I find digitally I prefer to use an actual tablet where you're drawing straight on the screen, and that really helped me. Oh, thank you, Ramon, for the follow. That's very kind of you. Thanks for stopping by the stream. How are you doing this fine Saturday morning for me, or wherever it is where you are? Yeah, they're very good. I've used one before, but they are incredibly expensive. I haven't got one these days, but I would like to get myself one. And then I can do more. Let's just hold that down a little bit. For a long time I've just been using the mouse. Yeah, that is tricky. I did get myself one of the Wacom Bamboos for about £45, I think it was. So cheap as chips when I got it, and that does me fine, especially if I'm doing it on a laptop, because it's quite small. I know I've got this in shadow at the moment with my hand holding down the paper, but it's stopping it from it keeps jumping up, and then I'm not being able to press down correctly on it. So I'm just holding it down for a little bit whilst I get these lines done. I want to make sure I've got everything how I want it before releasing it back up again. There we go. Let's move that back up. So got this one with the mouse, is it? Okay. Wow, for mouse drawing, that's pretty cool. To get those curves can be really hard with a mouse. So that's really cool. I like that. That's the hardest thing with mouse drawing is any kind of long length of line. Your Warlock and Dragon Soul gear. Nice. Alright, do a bit more. This one up here, we need to do some of these. Get that corner in mainly, and that line to make it seem a bit more platey. It's kind of a bit flat, but I'm just doing the texture details first, so I can get an idea as to how I want this to look. I'll do some more details around here. And some more around here. And that can be nice and dark, because then that's going into that. But if I make it a bit irregular, then I don't want it to make it look like it's a flat plate. I want it to have some nooks and crannies to it. There we go, do that. And we're going into this scale here. And that I want to do flatter, like that. So that's coming down like that. Right, I think I'll do these two more scales, go across here, and then I'll probably start finishing up for today. Draw an action pose, really hard for you to draw those in the right proportions. Yes, I find it difficult as well, Megan, so that's why I used the WoW model viewer to do my reference picture, which is this one, which is obviously very similar. That's what I'm using for my action pose, because I always struggle with perspective and what have you. So I used the model viewer and went through all the Naga animations until I got one that I was happy with, changed the camera angle, took a screenshot, and then used that as the basis for my idea for this one. Because yeah, trying to do things from scratch, from your mind's eye, getting the proportions right can be quite difficult, especially if you're not familiar with the skeletal structure of the creature you're drawing, which is kind of the thing that helps get the perspective right, and then break it down into its constituent parts. So yeah, at least it gives me a reference point with perspective and how it could be laid out. Obviously, with the model viewer, it's such low poly, you can't use it for much more than a basic guide, but it does work just for that initial phase of trying to plan out your drawing. Yeah, that's exactly the same as me, Megan. So I like reference, observational skills. I've really practiced that. When it comes to drawing from the mind, I try to think of it as a skeleton first inside, and then draw from the bone structure out. But it doesn't always go how my mind's eye thinks it would go. And quite more often than not, I tend to be quite dissatisfied with the drawing, as it doesn't turn out what I thought it would turn out like. But that's where the practice comes in. Keep on doing it, it does actually get better. But I do prefer reference, especially if I'm drawing animals, like real life animals, with all their fur texture and detail. I do prefer to use reference for that. I find it a lot easier to at least know that I'm being accurate with my observations. Because most tattoos need to be the original artwork. But yeah, that's true, isn't it? I guess you can. It is a skill that can be developed. It does take practice. And learning anatomy is a big help with that, definitely. Mal's your nemesis, yeah. Fur I quite like, because you kind of just have to think about the texture of the fur of that particular part, and then do short ones and long ones. My hard bit is, yeah, facial features. Hands I have trouble with, breaking them down into their constituent parts. Cylinders and tubes and planes, especially thumbs and how they attach. I always have trouble with thumbs. Alright. There we go. Right, yeah, smudging is a real world problem, definitely. I do it. I've done it on this one in a few places. I've been able to clean it up, thankfully. Right. I think I might leave it at that point now, as we've gotten a fair way down those scales, rather than going over them now. I think I'm going to think about how I'm going to do those scales. So I think I'll probably finish up there. So massive thank you everyone who stopped by the stream today. It's been really cool having your company and talking about things. So big thank you. Thank you, Buck, too. It's getting a bit too big to scan in now, so I'll have to take a photo of it and pop it up on Twitter and Discord. Drawing giveaway. Yes, I will do. My Gen Greymane I'm going to do. This one. The one I did on my first drawing stream. When I reach 1,000 followers on Twitch, I'm going to give that away, that original, and post it to the winner once I've gotten to 1,000 followers, which we're pretty close to, 853, which is amazing. So anyone sort of wants to help out with a follow, that would be awesome. And then once I've got that, we'll do I'll arrange to do a giveaway on stream. So looking forward to that one. You play Worgen as well, so that's definitely one for you then. So shout out to all your friends and get them to follow, and then we'll get to that 1,000 giveaway as soon as we can, and then I'll work out the actual giveaway on stream after I've done that. I'll announce it plenty of times so people have got fair warning. So that about wraps it up for today. I'm on later tonight doing my usual gold streaming, so if you can catch me later tonight, that'll be great. 9:30 I believe I am tonight. Let me have a look. What's my own schedule? 9 o'clock actually, UK time tonight. So I'll be back on later. So have a great stream, everyone. Great stream. Thanks for stopping by the stream. Have a great rest of your day, and I shall see you all tonight, hopefully. I'm not sure if there's anyone on. Can we throw a host over to anyone at the moment? Who's actually on? Shin's on, actually. Shin's on. So if you want to do follow on some gold making, not sketching, World of Warcraft gold making, Shin is on. So I'll throw a host over to him. I won't stop by because I'm going to go and spend some time with my family. But thank you, everyone. Let's just throw that host over. Go say hello to Shin. I think I've spelt that correctly. There we go. Right, okay, I'll throw a host over to Shin. So thank you all. Have a great rest of your day, and hopefully I get to see you all tonight. Farewell, and happy gold making.